This week on Marketplace Middle East, growing sectarian strife. From politics to economics, the fallout from the war in Syria is spilling onto Beirut's streets. Also on the program, as tensions rise between Iraq's Sunni and Shia communities, we take a look at the damage to that economy. As we know, the war in Syria has spilled well beyond its borders, no more so than in neighboring Lebanon. 3 years of conflict have undermined the Lebanese economy, and matters are made only worse by bombings in late 2013. Mohammed Jamjoom now on what it's like to survive in this environment.
An outpouring. Mourners crying for one of Lebanon's most prominent citizens, and also grieving for the country itself.
What bothers me is the fact that the realization that justice won't be met, and we're going to have to find our own way of honoring my father. That's what's starting to kick in now. Let the press do that.
Omar and Ronnie's father, Mohammed, Chatah, was a respected former minister and ambassador to the U.S. His sons believe they know why he was targeted.
I think he paid the ultimate price for being a free thinker in a country that doesn't produce many free thinkers today.
An intellectual and moderate, Chatah wanted Lebanon to achieve true and lasting sovereignty.
A neutral Lebanon, a stable Lebanon, a Lebanon that stands on its own 2 feet and functions properly.
But like others who advocated Lebanon wrestle itself free from Syria's web, Chatah met an untimely death. When the car bomb ripped through downtown Beirut last month, it killed Chatah and pierced that spirit of resilience the Lebanese are known for, suddenly making many feel more vulnerable than they have in years.
There's a sense of fear, helplessness, and sadness in what's happening and the future of our country.
As we walk down the abandoned alleyways of an affluent neighborhood, Lebanese policy expert George Sassine tells me many here are now afraid to go out. And who wouldn't be? Reminders of violence abound. Billboards blare the threat level, selling products that promise protection.
I'm sure.
At a time, little is certain.
Look, you have a country where politics is like a game of chess, but where you have this perpetual check. The Sunni, the Shiite, the Maronite can't defeat themselves, can't compete with each other, can't produce a definitive win.
It's why outside players like Saudi Arabia and Iran play such a big role in the fractious internal politics of Lebanon, and why sectarian tensions here are boiling over.
If you have some common ground between Iran and Saudi Arabia, you will automatically have a de-escalation of tension here.
But with the war in neighboring Syria getting worse, that's unlikely. While Iran continues to support Hezbollah, Sunni Saudi Arabia looks to counter the militant Shiite group with a $3 billion aid package they recently pledged to the Lebanese armed forces.
The longer the Syria crisis persists, the more damage it'll do.
Especially to Lebanon's economy, as evidenced by this emptiness. This high-end shopping district struggles to keep shoppers interested and stores open. And travel warnings mean tourists aren't visiting here. Still, Sassine, like others, insists there are ways to rebuild this economy in ruins.
Developing our oil and gas sector, which would have an amazing and very impactful results on the Lebanese economy, has nothing to do with what's happening in Syria.
A tall order for tiny, fragile Lebanon. Mohammed Jamjoom, CNN, Beirut.
Mohammed Jamjoom giving us a sense of what's taking place on the ground there in Beirut. Well, the unrest has nearly halted economic activity in Lebanon. The International Monetary Fund is suggesting growth of about 1.5% this year, about the same as last year. I spoke to the economy minister, Nicolas Nahas, and asked him about 2 different scenarios and how they could play out.
Lebanon needs 6% growth in order to cope with the huge debt we have. What we need is to see very soon a government of unity, which will boost again the appetite of the investor to come back to Lebanon and to invest and to bring back the economy to the 6 and above growth which we need.
In this uncertain political environment, Minister, would you suggest there is a danger of economic collapse?
I don't like to use the big word collapse and so forth, because the economy of Lebanon are discounting most of the time these kind of disturbances. So it doesn't mean that we are better off, that we are on a good track. No, we are on a track where there is a negative consequences. If things are going to go better with a new government, I think things will go back to the normal trend, upward trend, as Lebanon has always seen after, let's say, a government of unity as it has been done before.
This is an obvious but very important question. Who would dedicate fresh funds or investment with this sort of political uncertainty before elections?
We have two scenarios here. If there is going to be a government of unity in the coming days, I think the growth in 2014 will go higher than the 2%, which is already forecasted by most of the international institutions. If we are not going to succeed to have a government, and we are going to go in a deeper struggle, I think the 2% can come 1.5, I don't know, perhaps less. This is very important. It's not about economical factor. It's about political factor. Stability is the name of the game. That's what the investor is seeking.
Another issue that's often overlooked is the refugee crisis. A population in your country of 4.25 million people. We've added nearly 1 million refugees. What's the total cost to your economy?
I think this is the most important question, and I'm really worried about this issue, that the overall cost on Lebanon of this presence is almost around $13 billion on 3 years' terms. Yes, we are suffering, and this is not a Lebanese issue. This is a world community issue. So I think that the international community, and especially if we will have a government of unity, will be responsive to the need of Lebanon in order to cater, to support, and to be able to accept this presence of 1 million refugee and more in the current year 2014.
Nicolas Nahas, the economy minister of Lebanon, discussing how this all could play out on the ground in that country. Well, it's not just Lebanon suffering from sectarian violence. Iraq is boiling over yet again, hurting political unity, of course, but also undermining the economy. We'll have the special report from Marketplace Middle East continue.